Welcome, everyone, to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and this is our Bad Batch report. And joining me for all of these episodes, and now the finale, is Kyle Gould.
That's me, Kyle Gould, coming in live from Winnipeg tonight as we are unfortunately separated. So this will feel like a traditional What the Force episode, won't it?
Except you brought your fancy mic with you just to record this episode, which I appreciate.
Oh, well, I'm happy that I did that for you. But at the same time, this is like every other What the Force episode, isn't it? Because you're always at your computer talking to friends.
It's actually weird for us to record across the table and have our genuine banter about recording across the table from each other. Yeah, no, normally I record remotely with friends and interested parties from around the world.
Interested parties who become your friends.
I hope so. Well, Bad Batch has been a journey. These 3 seasons have been really, really interesting. I feel like it was an absolute tribute to sort of a wonderful exploration of what happens after the Clone Wars, that's what it ended up being so much. And we get to talk about episode 14 and 15, Flash Strike, and the Cavalry has arrived.
Oh my God. Just the names.
I knew you wouldn't like either of those names, which is interesting because the Cavalry has arrived is actually a record line from the Bad Batch episodes from the Clone Wars season 7. So
and it makes sense, and then makes absolutely zero sense in the context of this episode.
Again,
which is not an episode.
It was 50 minutes long, so we basically had 110 or 70 minutes.
Yeah,
total?
Just over 70 minutes total of 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Which I will tell you, not a single episode, because it's even directed by 3 people. The Cavalry Has Arrived was directed by Stuart Lee, Saul Ruiz, and Brad Rao.
So it was kind of like they had 3 episodes in mind, maybe, or something.
I have no idea. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's fine.
Imminently confused from a production standpoint by these 2 episodes and kind of the whole last run of the last 3 episodes or so, because we all could feel each episode just straight up ends. There's no conclusion. It's just, that's what 20 minutes right there.
Yeah, it starts where it ends off, right? Yeah.
And it just feels an editor,
it just feels like they could have just combined them all together and just had like a really big end episode.
Yeah, maybe. But you have to release weekly. This has to come out every week. I, as an editor of a weekly Dungeons and Dragons podcast where I cut sessions just like, here we go. Well, that's 25 minutes. Let's move on. It felt like that. It felt like they were in my brain just being like, well, that's about 20 minutes. Yeah, we can move on from there. People
Kyle.
Listen to that. I know.
Now you know.
I could be doing this.
And you name them weird things, and people are
my God.
Why did they name them this weird thing?
They probably forgot what the episode was about by the time they had to name it.
Oh. I mean,
at least not they. That's me. That's my own problem. I do that all the
time. But I do want to congratulate Jennifer Corbett and Brad Rao for show running this excellent show. It's been a lot of work. It was beautiful the entire time. And we got to have a really significant emotional journey for the Bad Batch and Omega. And I'm going to treasure it as a piece of Star Wars I will always love.
Yeah. I think on the same vein, it reminded me of the end of Dragonlance with Tasselhoff and Flint sitting underneath the tree. It reminded me so much of the end of Avengers Endgame. With a feeling like when the end of something epic, the end of something substantial.
Yeah.
And I don't think we would have seen this ending as being as touching and unifying and as important as it has been. When we first got into the Bad Batch at the end of the Clone Wars and for the first few episodes of the Bad Batch itself. Yeah,
and without the beautiful writing guidance from Jennifer Corbett, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ready to dig into Flash Strike?
Let's do it.
When do you want to do your special look into somebody behind the scenes?
We want to do that now. I've got that lined up and queued up and ready to go.
Okay, let's do it now. Yeah.
Sure. This episode is Flash Strike, written by Matt Miknevets, who is the ongoing story editor.
Mhm.
It was directed by Nate Villanueva, but the online editor is Michael Parkinson. Now, it says online editor. Other things on the internet have on-line editor, and that makes more sense to me than an online editor because it seems like he's just editing everything that's on the internet, that's online, right? That is not what this is. In the post-production industry, an online editor is also known as a finishing editor, and they polish the edits made by the picture editor to create the final version of the production. There's another person that does a lot of these components as well, but this person often performs the role of colorist, where color balance and luminance needs to be handled and balanced between different shots. Online editors need to have strong IT and file delivery skills, and Michael Parkinson has been the person to go to for all of this, going all the way back to Clone Wars, where he did episodes there. And it doesn't seem like it matches up that he's done all of the work as the online editor for every single episode of all those
he's been
shows.
Around and working on this for a long
I'm talking
time.
Clone Wars. I'm talking Rebels. We're talking.
Was he involved in Resistance as well?
And Resistance as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Way to go.
So just once again continues to demonstrate and show that this is really a team, that there's a large group of people that are responsibly working together and have been for a very long time to bring us this Star Wars animation that we've come to love for the last, 10 plus years.
Yeah. I remember when I first saw the rough animation for the Bad Batch, it was so fun. And then actually getting to see season 7 and now actually getting to explore a growth arc for all of the Bad Batch has been so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So for me, Flash Strike was really about what I call the rise of Echo.
Yeah.
We really got the last few episodes, this episode, then in particular, we get to see Echo kind of shining after the Bad Batch has rescued him in season 1. He's gone away with Rex because the plot just didn't have room for him in season 2 as much. And now in season 3, we're really seeing how important and instrumental he is to the future of the rebellion.
And our headcanon that it's Echo based after him seems to hold water.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, we can scomp into that right away.
Yeah, it's scomp in. So they arrive at Tantus, and the Batch quickly determine they probably need to infiltrate on foot because they'll be caught. And of course, dragging along their emotional support rampart.
Oh my God. That he screams so many times falling out of the ship. And each scream is different and enjoyable and a delight. That's just so good. And the levels for each of those screams is perfect in
one
the
of
ears.
them was like Wilhelm Worthy.
Yeah, I know.
Was that actor. It was great.
Yeah. Why isn't he dead? Right there. Why isn't he dead? And then why isn't he dead? And then why isn't he dead? By the end of this episode, I'm like,
questions. Yeah.
Why isn't he dead?
Because he had to do something else that was mean.
Yeah.
Echo.
We'll get to that.
Echo had it like a nice little like side plot where he was, hiding from droids or hiding from stormtroopers or.
Yep. Or shooting droids right in the chest and taking him out.
Yeah. He took out that one droid on that science vessel, and
exactly.
He had some really fun stuff, like where he like had to improvise, like looking like a TK unit, grabbing the droid's hand, kind of moving his way kind of out of the hangar, etc. Like I don't want to go too much into that, but like his stuff was just fun. Like fun little like spy stuff. Like you're like watching James Bond.
So enjoyable.
Scorch was enjoyable in his terribleness, being like, you have to take Clone Force 99 seriously, Hemlock. And so Hemlock, of course, unleashes fury onto The shuttle.
And this is why I hate Hemlock. It's because he thinks he's smarter than everyone else, and he has all the permutations and possibilities covered because he knows and understands people.
Yeah.
But he's constantly failing to achieve his goals. Constantly.
Yeah, constantly. Omega kind of understanding what the noises mean says to the other kids that her brothers have found her.
Yeah. Oh, no, even better. Laser cannons. I had no idea that laser cannons were that concussive.
Yeah.
Laser cannons.
We have some amazing shots of Rampart, like you said, falling, but also hanging out of things, being caught, being flung, being drugged, being like falling again. Like it was, I don't know, that in and of itself was just pure joy.
I don't say this very often because I typically hate this expression, but I literally wrote in my notes, Rampart falling, those screams, just chef's kiss. I feel gross.
They shoot down the shuttle and they're like, oh, did we really get them? But no, they didn't. They are in the jungle, of course.
Every ship has to be destroyed. The number of ships that get shot up and blown out of the sky one way or another,
they were in or using is a
or
lot.
needed is a lot.
Yeah.
Starting from the Marauder, it was basically like they made decisions that we need to take as many ships out of the sky as possible.
Ships are Kleenex, meant to be disposable. So Omega has a plan, and the other kids are like, what if they come? It's like, well, improvise, which was so cute. Like she's definitely
adorable,
empowering them, and she decides to crawl into the walls. And this reminded me so much of a couple of Star Trek episodes. The
Jeffrey's tubes.
The Jeffrey's tubes, right? It reminded me of Little Rascals a little bit with Picard and Ensign Rolaren and Guinan, like all being shrunk down to little kids. And it reminded me of the episode it was like Picard's Day, Captain's Day, Captain Picard Day.
Captain's Day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Captain Picard and all the little kids. And
just how much Picard hated Captain's Day. I remember this now.
Yes. And they had to and he gave them his little lapel pips, and it just reminded me of that, and that Omega was like Captain Picard in a way,
right?
Giving them all of their directions, and they followed orders really well through these whole two remaining episodes. And
you know what's interesting about that, Marie Claire, is that those kids are very similar of age to the Bad Batch themselves. So we totally accept that she is the leader of this group of kids, but so many people had so many problems with her basically ordering around the Bad Batch.
She's older than them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a complicated relationship. Who is the parent and who is the mother, or who is the father in this relationship?
Yeah.
We have some hilarity with Rampart complaining consistently in the jungle, and he gets really tired, and so he just decides to rest against a sleeping furry monster.
Feather bear is what I called it. I haven't looked up what it actually is.
I didn't write down what it was. I think it had a D name or something like that. But
I totally want to call it a feather bear from here on out. I think it was such a pretty feather bear. Not an owl bear, because it doesn't look at all like one, but it's definitely a feather bear.
To me, it was kind of like how he was like, oh, I can rest anywhere in this scary jungle. But it was almost I don't know, in some way foreshadowing or indicating he's really always willing to sidle up to the monster. Even and this ends up getting him captured and in danger again. And
endangering all of the others. Not only that, this feather bear kills 6 stormtroopers.
Oh yeah.
So if we can, I'd like to do death count individual episodes. So if we could do death count for Flash Strike, whatever roommates. That would be great.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. All right. One droid.
Death count.
Sorry, I jumped to that. One droid and 6 stormtroopers. That's it. That's death count for this episode.
Wow.
So
okay.
1 droid killed by Echo, 6 stormtroopers taken out by Feather Bear, which really wouldn't have even happened if Rampart hadn't decided to rest on the slumbering beast.
Yeah, exactly. We will find out what death count is for next episode in a bit.
Oh
I'm
my
sure it's
God.
higher. It reminded me of a Clone Wars season 7 episode. So there we go. Omega finds the Zilla Beast as she's like doing her little crawl through exploration, and then she figures out, oh, this will go up to, because I know this area or I know how to get up. It'll go out from here. We'll be in a good place, or at least this will be a good distraction, which is kind of her plan, is make a distraction and then figure the rest of the way out.
Hey, follow the wake of the devastation is a great path.
Yeah, that was really smart. And it was a good callback to them already seeing a Zilla Beast, understanding what they are, understanding the power of them. And I love it when they bring in Zilla Beasts. It's great.
Every episode is made better with a Zilla Beast.
It is, or a kaiju of some sort, or a robotic kaiju Zilla Beast from, the one planet that they turned on the giant robot. Emery and Echo have a moment.
Yes. I wrote down, when she says Echo, I was just so happy.
Yeah.
And if you watch the episode again after you watch the last episode, you can see the way they talk about each other based on how Omega has talked about them.
Yeah.
There's something going on there.
Aw.
We'll save that for the end, but
they're paired for the entire rest
rest of the time. Yes.
We could assume the rest of time. We don't know better.
If we want to dive into the end, I definitely think that there's a romantic connection that's between the two of them.
I hope so. Echo deserves
I hope so
love.
too. They do.
Although,
and
are
not
they
with some
sister,
crappy
brother?
Narcissus person, right?
Yeah. Echo says the batch, can't just, rescue one clone, right? They have to liberate all the prisoners, this is what we've wanted since the beginning of the Bad Batch. You got to rescue all of the prisoners. And since the clone trooper program was pretty much decommissioned by this point in the timeline entirely, the remaining clones that are either imprisoned are probably in like penal colonies or killed or here. So, or have managed to be liberated by Rex and crew, right? So, yeah.
Any of the ones that have managed to overcome their programming and are injured or in some way captured are here. Any other, like, there's still other clones out there that have not overcome their programming. Yeah.
But it would be a long-term goal, is to escape the Empire, right? And so, this is about a little bit about the thematic, rescuing and breaking of the curse that needed to happen from a story perspective for Tantus and the House of Atreus, which we've talked about a lot on this show, but I won't repeat it. You can go and listen to those episodes. And of course, also rescuing the children is really tied into this. And so Omega having the plan to rescue the kids and saying, I have a plan, it's in place by the end of this episode, is really great to see as we go into the finale.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out as well that this episode is 3 separate stories with the jungle walking bros, Echo, and then Omega, as well as there's 3 different stories that are going on. And there's this beautiful balance that happens between the bits of action that happen in those different stories. And then when some big tense moment of action is happening, it moves seamlessly to another scene where there's been resolution in that conflict for that group, and there's just lovely dialogue that's happening between people, as you said, Echo and Emery, between the threesome with Rampart, between Omega and the kids. It's just, you get a feel for the relationships that are establishing between this groups, right? Like, I'm afraid of heights. Well, so is my brother. We just need to, look forward and not look back, not look down, which is a great metaphor and message as well. And then the way that this all works, if you're paying close attention when you watch it, is that the music, the Kainai's music, does such a great job of all the heavy lifting to seamlessly maneuver us between these different scenes and different stories, making them seamless and making them connected through an ongoing sequence of music.
Yeah, and we get good plays of sort of the Bad Batch theme as well as Omega's solo theme when she's triumphant. It's really well done. Yeah.
Yeah, but the ending, what?
The ending of this episode?
It's just that's ends. The end of that episode.
Okay, done. Yeah. It definitely felt like it was meant to like be maybe shown on the same night as the finale or something, like where it just kind of went off. I don't know. Producers...
I don't know either. This has kind of been the case for the last several episodes where it just straight up ends on us, right?
Yeah. So we move into episode 15. The cavalry has arrived. I can't do my best record to say it, but
nobody arrives this episode.
Nobody arrives. There is legitimately no cavalry. Wrecker is super hurt. He is the cavalry in a lot of sense. He's super hurt. He doesn't do a whole lot.
Ming Na Wen doesn't show up. So.
I mean, yeah, Ming Na. Great Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reference. That was really good. Yeah, she is the cavalry in that. And we could have said that legitimately if some, people showed up into, Fennec just like showed up. Then we could say, yeah, the cavalry has arrived because Ming Na Wen has arrived.
The only people that arrive is Tarkin and his 3 ships.
Yeah.
After everything is ended. That is not the cavalry has arrived.
They were already there.
That's the cleanup crew has arrived.
That's like the shutdown, like, I'm gonna take your money. Let's get to that later.
And you can't name an episode after that because really doesn't speak well to the whole message of what this story is about. Because at the end of the day, then if the cavalry has arrived and it's Tarkin and that's what this is about, then the whole entire story has just been about the diversion of the funding from Project Necromancer into Project Stardust.
Yes. And also like the like weird like money scheme that Rampart came up with, cryptocurrency. That ended up funneling money to Project Stardust because he shut down Camino and stuff like yeah. So I think Rampart was captured at the end of last episode, which I didn't mention previously, but Scorch is very proud that they captured Rampart.
Yeah.
Rampart and Hemlock have some excellent insults to trade over this, and Rampart's still like, why do you need this young clone? Like, seriously, dude, like, why are you so obsessed with her? We all want to know that. Well, we do sort of know that. Nalase kind of overhears this, and this leads up to future conversations that end up happening, right? At least she overhears enough. Echo wants to know why Emery wants to help him. And, we get a full, and this is where I want to talk about briefly, a redemption conversation actually doesn't have to take that long.
No, it doesn't.
Literally, she's just like, I was wrong and I want to do the right thing. Done.
I was on board. She's told us all season that she doesn't see it and she just couldn't find a way to be helpful, right? She wanted to make, she's such a smart character. She doesn't want to make a faulty choice that doesn't result in success.
Yeah.
She has to bide her time from where she is in the position she's got. And it's clear because she basically gives Omega the data pad that has access to everything. Now is the time, right? Now I can be effective. Now I can be helpful. Now I'm teamed up with the right people. All of the cards are in place to be successful and bring this place down.
Omega,
and also bring down Sadler too.
Yeah. Omega brings the kids into the plan, and which involves taking out a medical droid. I loved this part.
I loved it so much.
They like trick the medical droid, and then like basically, reprogram it to take down Scadler.
Scalder, right?
Scalder.
The actor's name is Sadler. Character's name is Scalder. Yeah.
And
so good. Oh, I just loved
this moment, like where she reprograms, and then it, like the little dance the droid does around the doctor, and then like
the ominous circling.
Yeah, the circling. It was great.
And I feel like Omega finally has a device, a tool, right? Like of her own. We always thought it was going to be the crossbow, and instead it ends up being a pin tool, like a pin screwdriver, and she uses it to great effect so many times this episode.
Yeah,
it's really, really impressive.
Yep.
Starting with the reprogramming of the droid with it.
Yep, exactly. Wrecker is really, really hurt.
Yeah, so hurt that he needs more than a couple med patches. He needs several med patches.
Yeah. And he's
like 7 med patches.
He needs 7 med patches. Nice survivor deep cut.
I'm just here to make you laugh, honey.
I actually wrote it down. The giant feather bear is a dry axe.
Oh,
that's the name of it.
Feather bear's cooler.
Echo follows Emery towards the vault because they're going to go and spring the kids. She mentions Project Necromancer, so now Echo knows about Project Necromancer, which is cool. Meanwhile, Omega and the kids have made their way to the Zillo Beast area, and she goes and sneaks in, and the kids are all like, we can't keep the baby quiet for long, parental problems, right? Just when you're about to spring a Zillo Beast, the kid's gonna cry, right? Like that's just expected. And it starts to escape, and it doesn't matter that the kid was crying. Actually, it was kind of a good distraction for a bit.
Works out real well. Then the kid gets quiet as the Zillo Beast rains devastation and heck down upon everything.
Yeah, we get that one line of like, now you sleep.
This is what gives you rest.
The screaming, yeah. Crosshair sees the troopers in the Lurka Hounds patrolling, and
everybody wishes that Batcher was there.
Everyone wishes that Batcher was there, and we do. But we see
I forgot something though, Marie Claire.
What?
Did you see the difference in the intro of this episode?
Yeah, this one like slowly faded in, like it was like old or something.
No, it was colorless. All of the color has been taken off of it with a laser, just like it happened to their uniforms. That did not occur for Flash Strike. Flash Strike still had the old, style colored up
because they're
Bad
reborn.
Batch.
Yeah.
This one was lasered and gray, steel gray entirely, just like all of their outfits.
Absolutely.
Which made me think even more that I was going to be right about Techspiracy.
Techspiracy. R.I.P. Crosshair's hand is like shaking like a lot more throughout. We see that like throughout this episode a lot.
Especially when he espies Tantus with the binoculars, that's when it's really, really pronounced. Basically saying, this is not physical, it's all psychological.
It really is. Like, it's like, this is something that's, and he offers to like go and sacrifice himself, Plan 99. And they're like, no way. It was great.
You're an idiot. It was so good.
You're an idiot. I think that's really, really important because like this is part of the lessons that they had to learn, like that living for other people is the hard choice, right? Dying for other people is the easy choice. It's interesting. So the Zillo Beast escapes with much destruction, and
those 7 seconds of the Zillo Beast going off into the forest were a real delight for me in watching this episode. I wish I'd got to see it on something bigger than my phone screen because it was just such a rich with detail moment. And the whole vista was just a delight, like just so good.
The sound again was amazing, and the Zillo Beast sounds so good.
Yep.
Omega has to convince the kids to climb out because she's like, oh, hey, the Zillibeast went that way. We can get out that way. And Hemlock, again, ordering people to go find the Zillibeast because he can't lose that one either.
Right? Take the ships. Go get it.
Yep. Hemlock doesn't seem to care that the rogue clones are coming because he goes and wakes up the CX troops.
Right.
Right? And they're all kind of different shapes and sizes. And they kind of remind me of the Inquisitors a little bit, like a clone version of the Inquisitors.
God, reminded me of the Knights of Ren. None of them talk, and all of them have cool weapons and poses.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got for you for that.
Yeah, they're reprogrammed clones, though. We had that confirmed from him.
Oh, we totally did. Yeah, but they just harken back to that, like a group of baddies who don't talk. They're the ninja assassins under the employ of the evil wizard sort of thing.
It's pretty classic of Star Wars to pay for really good stuntmen, but not give them any faces.
Yeah, and then not have to pay them very well.
Yeah, exactly. Although they all had effectively Dee's voice, so
Right. Well, none of them spoke, right?
Well, CX 2 did because
this episode did he actually speak? This episode?
He did.
Oh, you don't need that hand.
You don't need that hand, which again was so tech.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, okay, Techspiracy continues. Did they change their mind?
And just decide to kill the thing and leave Tech dead?
Yeah.
When would they have made that decision? This has been basically done.
I know, but I don't know. It's weird.
It did seem an ignominious death for a character that had been a bad guy for several episodes, and then to throw him into the mix with a whole bunch of other ones that were cool with their vibro swords and other technology and abilities, flippy spinny people.
But it also feel like we didn't really get a tech funeral, like tech mourning.
Yeah.
As
a result of that, it's just a passing comment from here on out, right? It's not like we got to mourn the character in the end. And then, but this shadow clone that had balked them at every single chance they could get finally gets defeated just in battle.
Yeah. It doesn't feel significant.
No, it didn't. It felt...
I think that's my only beef with the story is they made this clone feel special. So why wasn't he special?
Yeah.
He was special. He could defeat the Bad Batch. Handily. And then he couldn't?
With all the others that are like him, he couldn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even anything special that somebody else did. It just seemed to be happenstance that led to this defeat.
Yeah, and they definitely seemed to be overpowering them for a moment,
Yeah. I will say, the first time I watched it, I was kind of underwhelmed throughout while sitting at the airport on the way to Winnipeg today. I was, watching that episode for the first time, and I felt underwhelmed most of the way through. I watched it again post work today, and in my hotel room, I got to put it on, and that whole entire sequence from the rescuing of the clones and then asking any of them that would be willing to do this single last fight, knowing you're probably going to die if you come be part of this. And so many of them saying yes. From that moment through to the end of the combat, it's gorgeous. And it's a beautiful ballet of death and violence that is satisfactory for what it does.
Right. Yeah.
But in a modern storytelling fashion where there are no bad guys, just bad decisions. My feelings from this morning still stay, right? Because I'm left underwhelmed. There's no revelation as to who this clone was. Was it Tech? We will never know. It's left on the cutting room floor. Rampart does not get it. There's no redemption of Rampart. Rampart still thinks that he can go back to why would he even want to go back to the Empire? It's such a strange decision. They just might
have given him a lot of money. That's how I took it. Yeah.
Even then?
I know. The Empire threw you away like garbage, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even Hemlock in some ways is kind of it's a similar death to the death of the Emperor. And yet again, further evidence as to why Star Wars needs railings more than ever before. But I just, the way they wrapped up the storyline is got to kill all the bad guys.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a choice, which I'm not as happy about as other choices.
Yeah. And other things that they did, and the way the story eventually resolves is beautiful and lovely and passion, full of passion. And there's full of care and attention and love for these, our heroic characters. But I'm sad that our heroes are not able to convert and improve and make better the people around them. They just have to suffer the people around them.
Yeah, which you can only do
like
so much,
Sid's off-screen death. Like, they weren't able to convert and make Sid a better person. They weren't, like, all the people they encounter are stuck in the way that they are. They're not improved by having had the Bad Batch in their lives and Omega with them.
Oh, only Omega can change people.
But even then,
I mean, only direct contact with Omega seems to change people, right?
Yeah, that's true. Nala Se and Emery.
Yeah. So. We had, of course, the scene where the Bad Batch is captured and Crosshair loses his hand, his shaky hand. That was so hard to watch. The kids are escape with Emery, which is really good. I thought that was a good way to handle children, as without children and dogs, right?
Right. And show them flying away, because Star Wars is all about ships landing and flying away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we have this really great scene with Nala Se. She's like, I can't let them have any of my knowledge from the Kaminoans. It's going to die with me, basically. She grabs a thermal detonator and heads her way, and Rampart sneaks after her with a gun.
But gets Emery's datapad.
Yeah.
Which is basically the datapad that was Nala Se's in the beginning of this season. The story, this whole season is about the cycle of this datapad.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody I know on Twitter, Maury Mole, who talks about Star Wars from a Jungian psychology perspective as well, actually said that after we had mentioned Aresh Kagal and Inanna on the podcast, she had gone in and looked into the myth, and actually Inanna's mother, Ningal, Ningal, I think it's her Ningal, actually lamented her lost city in a poem. And so it's like Nala Se being like the mother of Omega and the mother of Emery,
the mother of the clones,
mother of the clones, her lamentation over Kamino really ties back to that, like, reconciliation with the sort of the loss of the feminine that we often see in story. And it's there, which is great. More connection to sort of deep psychological femme myth.
Yeah, and also just a further statement as to, like, these sorts of stories stick with the human consciousness, no matter what society you're in.
Yeah, which is so cool, and like great pointing that out, Maury Mole. Thank you for that. We messaged back and forth.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Tarkin's like, you do not have your poop in a group.
He's just so gleeful.
Hemlock, I'm coming there.
I also just want to point out, it's pretty interesting that the holo feed is up. Like, the Tarkin's called in. They're like, I'll go get him. And rather than put him on hold, they just leave Tarkin's holo up,
waiting in the room
while he's talking to aides and adjutants as he's going about his business, waiting for... And how come, like, I didn't think that, like, literally Hemlock is in direct connection with the Emperor. The Emperor comes and visits him. He says the Emperor's left-hand guy if Tarkin's the right. But yet Tarkin seems to have this, like, I am more powerful than you. I'm higher up in the chain of command than you are, even though that's not the case right now.
Yeah. So one thing I know about working in corporate culture, and not that this is, but it's as close to capitalism as we get, is he who controls the budget controls a lot of stuff.
It's so true, right? Also, there's a Tarkin's older than Hemlock. So he's like, I've been with the organization longer than you, you upstart whippersnapper.
Seniority.
So he's flexing his status by staying on the holo call.
Yeah.
So just as Hemlock comes in, he's already there. such a great choice from a perspective of power and from a storytelling perspective, because it gives us action where there would be none.
So Rampart learns all about Project Necromancer and is like, oh, I could sell this back to the Empire and get something. And again, like, I think that this is like why the beast in the previous episode, where he leans against the beast. It's like you're not going to get what you want out of this. You're going to end up mauled or captured or dead. And guess what? Guess what happens? Well, Nalase makes the choice, right?
Yeah, but all that time in prison with that Ugnaught, not being able even to speak the same language, he hasn't learned anything at all. He, the penitence and the whatnot, like the choices that he makes, he doesn't regret any of them. He goes and makes the exact same decisions he's made before, which is, go for power, go for money as quickly as you possibly can. And it ends up biting him in the butt after he kills Nalase.
Yep. The Bad Batch being captured or brought down to the CX room, the Clone X room, and Hemlock gloats, practically monologuing about how much they have failed and he's going to convert them all. And he was way more successful since Crosshair was attempted to be converted. And I thought this was the reveal for Tech, but no. And really, like, coolly, symbolically, they're brought kind of into the heart of Tantus and essentially experience, like, a death. They're in coffins, right? And so, archetypically, they're actually transforming archetypes. They are willing to die for what they believe in. They are willing to be kings in this moment, i.e. lead this whole group of people out of this bad place. And they fight symbolically against their shadow selves, which are all of these CX troopers in the darkness, and essentially become, they fight their shadow warrior self to move past what they were. So they had already been reborn, but this is fully how you take on your new persona and rebuild your new persona. Is you essentially got to kill your old persona, or you become one with your old persona, and it all gets melded together until you are able to leave the darkness. Psychologically. But they managed to defeat all of the CX troopers with a brutal blow through CX2 with that like spear thing.
Yep.
And they chase after Hemlock. But Hemlock has captured Omega and had handcuffed her to him. Oh, there was a really great line from Nalase that I wanted to say, which was like Omega is like special, like in a way that's beyond just like the fact that she can be like, her blood can be manipulated to work for cloning M count, right? She's special beyond that. And to me, that's like the writers sort of nodding to the fact that she is this like healing sort of divine child archetype, which has the opportunity to really save others and heal others. In stories symbolically, this would come off in some mythology as like the Holy Grail, again, Baby Yoda, etc. So these divine children archetypes often heal others, and that's what Nalase was really pointing to. Chasing after Hemlock, the handcuffed Omega. She
such a bad choice on Hemlock's part.
I know. It's like,
why? There's nothing he could do. You skipped over the shooting down of Hemlock's ship, which he was summoning in with his little wrist bracelet of red buttons.
Yeah. They shot him down, and
which is just go Crosshair. Right? He hits the ship he failed to hit before, because I'm pretty sure this is the same ship that the Shadow Clone came in on.
Ship,
and we watch it crash and burn behind Hemlock as he's left with no escape.
And he's like, you guys can't shoot me. She's right in front of me. And she's like, you can't kill me.
I'm the thing you want.
Which was great.
Yes.
Crosshair and Hunter realize that Omega is signaling to them, and they're like, just trust yourself, buddy. You got this, even with no hand. And he makes the shot. He shoots the bracer, or the handcuff, basically. And Hemlock falls to his death.
Yeah, after getting shot more than one time.
I mean, he's not living through this. This is
no. I don't care. But you skipped over as well the death of Scorch, Skidmark, which makes me so
he just,
happy.
Fell off. He
took
dead.
So many shots. He was dead before he fell.
Yes, I'm happy he's dead. I'm
sorry.
Me
too, I don't so much.
I don't typically like death, but if he
we never saw his face. So
apparently he was a fan favorite, and people are upset that he's dead.
Who is a fan of Skidmark? I mean, Scorch. Who loves this guy?
I don't know if they listen to this podcast.
I don't think they would. But also I don't know if they're not liking the same sort of Star Wars that we are.
I don't know,
which makes me sad.
It's fine.
He had a cool glowing face mask, but other people have those right now too. So
it's true. There's more than him. Yeah. So they escape. It's great. Tarkin arrives.
Can I just roll back quick though on Hemlock?
Oh wait. Did we want to do death count for this episode too?
I do. We're almost to that is the last death, but I do want to talk a bit about the writing for Hemlock here, because it doesn't feel good. You wrote Hemlock into a rock and a hard place. He is a smart character. I'm not saying Hemlock should have been able to get away, but Hemlock holding the gun to Omega's head seems like a decision he would never have made. He knows, because he knows right away that he's not going to shoot Omega. He can't. He knows right away that, like, putting Omega in front of him, I understand and I can see that. But find some other way to keep them at bay. I just felt like maybe that writers group should have taken a few seconds more and really thought hard and long about what Hemlock represented in order to lead to those decisions. The shooting down of the ship puts Hemlock in a rock and a hard place position. What does he do? Because holding it's too classic of an Indiana Jones bad guy who's not that smart. It's just hunting for the Grail and the Ark of the Covenant, right? This is not that guy. This is a scientist dedicated to giving the Emperor a clone body.
Yep.
And monkeying around with people's a sense of control and obedience, right? So I just feel like,
and like also like breeding like monsters too. He's got a little bit of that like vibe to him. Like he's not a dumb guy. I don't know.
And the man spent so much time massaging his gloved hand over this episode that they didn't give us any payoff in that either. What was with the hand?
We'll never know.
So why do anyway? All right,
why do it? Because it gives him a characteristic and a twitch and a thing that, like, if a cosplayer shows up, they'll recognize him because he's got the one gloved hand
and a nick in his eyebrow.
Yep.
But I reveal the hand, shoot the thing, have the hand be made free. Right? Tell us what this is. You've given us this thing that you say is important, but then you never reveal it.
They don't have time for everything, though, Kyle. I'm gonna defend them.
Sure, but they have time to justify him saying he would shoot Omega when Omega's like, "You're never gonna shoot me." Like,
this is a weird choice. This is a weird choice. Like, even Omega calls him on it. Yeah. All right. Death count.
Do you have any guesses as to how many people died on screen? There are so many that died.
Like 50.
Well, you are expecting too much of a 50-minute television show to have.
I was like one per minute.
50. That would be a nut. There are 28 deaths that happen on screen.
Half as much as what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. And that's including any of the people that fall or are crushed or eaten by the Zilla Beast.
Fair.
Some definitely die off screen. To talk about the fact that 2 entire platoons are taken out, or I don't think they said battalions or platoons, groups were taken out by the Zilla Beast.
We don't
That's
know those.
A lot.
Yeah, we don't know those counts though.
Yeah. A lot of people
plus.
died. But we watched, we actively got to see 28 deaths in a 58-minute production.
I don't think that 50 is low. I think it's actually probably more correct.
With
the battalions
Right. But
Right.
again, I always have done death count
As
for
what is
Bad
shown
Batch
on screen, yeah.
because it's supposed to represent this is a cartoon, an animated production that we're watching. When we watched droids and clone troopers pass and die in the previous show, it was supposed to be an aspect, an element of war. This third season of Bad Batch has not been about war. It's been about saving, rescuing, liberation.
Yeah.
So the death count has been considerably lower. This episode, though, tops all of them for the sheer amount of carnage we see on screen.
Right.
And so these deaths are they're done deliberately. Many times those stormtroopers are not stunned down when Echo goes in to rescue the prisoners. He shoots to kill.
Yeah.
And effectively, Echo is predominantly the main thrust of the death in this episode.
Wow.
Yeah, he kind of even beats the Zilla Beast. I was counting as I went along, not individually, but the Zilla Beast and Echo are the tops for murdering.
So Tarkin shows up. The Empire arrives in Tantus again, and he's like,
all we were missing from Tarkin was a
he immediately goes, Hemlock, you fool! I have you overestimated, or overestimated your prowess and underestimated your enemy, and thus all of your funds belong to me. Convert
all of your budget are belong to us.
Yes, move that over to Project Stardust, aka the Death Star. And this really is just every time that we have seen money diverted to Project Stardust, it's really just them trying to justify the estimated $192 quintillion that they estimated that the Death Star took to make.
Yep.
Over like 18 years, right? That's 18 zeros of money.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of funny just to see every time that they're like, yes, the bean counters, the accountants. Yes, we're definitely getting all that money in.
I have more contractors to hire.
Yeah. I have to find more steel and weapons and kyber crystals. Yeah. Yep.
Exhaust ports.
Everyone makes it safely back to Pabu, which I'm so happy about. Everything being destroyed means that nobody knows to look for Omega, because Hemlock was paranoid and didn't share anything with anybody.
And all the kids we've rescued through this season are all together.
Yeah.
I thought and they're all a little older, just a tiny bit, which is nice.
And the clones were able to help be resettled on Senator Chuchi's world, which is Pantora, which I thought was really cool because it ties into second season and all of that Pantoran sort of plot that we ended up getting with her.
And just the introduction of those characters back earlier on in the season 3, we're like, why are these characters here? Oh, so this offhand reference in the last episode will make you remember who those people were.
Yep. And Rex is working on trying to find the children's families, but who knows, right? Like,
right? Oh,
yeah. But
if Cad Bane was involved, they're probably dead.
I liked that this ending sort of represented like options, and that people get to choose who they want to be from now on and not have to be bound to service or bound to being something that they're told they have to be. It was liberating in so many ways to see them saved from this, again, symbolic curse.
And Emery is looking at things with new eyes, i.e. she doesn't have her glasses on anymore.
Yeah, she looks cute. And she decides to pair up with Echo in helping the clones, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Again,
highlight moment.
We don't know if they ever get separated. They're together forever, in my mind, for now. And then the story, we see it fade out over the tree, and we see the clones sitting there with Batcher, with Omega in the middle.
Oh, not just that. Oh, I had a real dad moment there when their conversation ends and Omega leans in and closes her eyes against Rex, against Hunter's arm. My kids have done that. And I had a real this is a moment of solace.
Yeah. And they're safe now, and they can just live,
They have a definite future.
Yeah.
Not a hoped for a future. They have a future.
Yeah. And this to me represented what in Greek myth, when you were a warrior and you fought bravely, you were rewarded in the afterlife with being able to go to the Elysian fields.
Absolutely.
Was the best. It was paradise in Hades. And
you get to wear your armor and stand next to clouds of butterfly balloons and fight and it was
off
the son of Hades.
Paradise. You got to rest. It was peace.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? It was peace. And that's what they are rewarded with. They fought well and they finally get to have peace. And that is the reason you fight wars. This is something that like I've talked about a lot on the podcast, that like, why do the Star Wars exist? Well, so that you can have a life, right? So you can fight
that those
for
who
family,
live through it,
so that you have an opportunity to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really nice to actually see them break free from the violent life cycle that they had been in and actually be given a chance to live. And those that wanted to go back to fight more or to do just different things could leave, but they had the opportunity to rest and be in peace.
Also, it is a great commentary too, by having Tarkin show up and say all this money is going to Project Stardust. Tarkin doesn't care about the clones. Tarkin doesn't want to hunt down the clones the same way that Rampart was, the same way that a Hemlock was. So we have Tarkin move on to other things. The Empire has said, we're done with this. We don't care about them anymore. That war, that fight is over, won or lost. And so that I can see why that's included, because Tarkin saying, I don't care about this, shutter it, move on to Stardust, allows us to have that moment with the tree and our heroes at rest, because they won. They've escaped the ever watchful gaze of the Empire.
Their curse has ended, the clones' curse, and they've had the clone rebellion, and they have won their freedom from the cycle of violence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we flash forward years in the future, and we see a young woman with longer hair.
I have to say, I wrote is because it's before this. We have an overhead shot pointing down. Is it Tantus? Is it Pabu? You don't know what it is, right? Because it has that circle. Pabu has that same circle that Tantus has. So I had immediate hope. What is this? Cool pirate lady? Is she on Tantus? Is she descending into Tantus for some reason? And I was like, I had hope that she was looking for her boyfriend Tech. And I was going to get that, even though at the end, I was shocked that it could be. And then I was like, oh, this is Pabu as the angle changes. And we go down and we descend to the secret cave, the cave of arrivals and leavings.
Yes, and leavings. And Omega goes there, and Hunter's waiting for her with Batcher. And they have a chat. Because
his sixth sense, he knows when people are coming or going.
Yeah, exactly. And so
he's Santa Claus. He's
Santa Claus. He's got an excellent beard now, and he's looking much older, right? So he's
is
aged.
She. All grown up. And it was so nice to see her actually grown up. I know, like, it's what I've wanted the whole season, and I hope that if she's in future shows or animations or whatever, like, we get more from her, because the divine child archetype, when they go off and become a hero, is actually like a born leader. Like, that's part of their story, is they're meant to be a leader. So I'm excited. I want to see grown-up Omega kicking ass with the rebellion, and the rebellion needs pilots, she says. And he's like, yeah, we've been fighting a really long time to make sure that you were safe. And she's like, but you did. I am safe. I grew up, and now it's my time to make my choice. And yeah. And then he says, we'll always be there if you need us. And it felt so good. Right.
On to the next adventure.
Is great. And I'm here for Dad Bod Hunter and his sweater vest, his sweater. Like, that was, I was like, he's let himself go, and that's okay. And when Omega says the rebellion needs pilots now more than ever, I was like, what a great Star Wars line, right? How many characters have said that?
Yeah.
At this point, right?
And Gonki's with her, so she's got her own little droid.
Yeah. And when it ended, I have to tell you this.
Glasses are on the console.
Right? Oh.
Yeah.
when the credits rolled, I let the whole thing just keep going, even through all the other language credits. Both times I've watched it, I've watched the whole entire thing because it felt well and truly ended.
Yeah. And it was
I think
good ending.
Yeah, but they could have left it with the tree. That was an ending of its own. But I think they gave us Omega climbing into a ship to go join the rebellion as another ending of its own. To say she's grown up and she's moved on. If there are other stories and other motifs and little vignettes, that's fine. That's great. She can exist in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But the ensuing years between then and quote unquote now, you don't have to worry about Omega. We're not going to come back to this. She's safe. This was they lived happily ever after.
They lived happily ever after. And we get so rarely, we get them so rarely. And the clones won't live a really long time, but they had life.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to cry.
I think it's the same way with Avengers Endgame. I talked about that earlier because we get the death of Iron Man and it's made more real in that conclusion because the sacrifice has to be, we don't get to walk out of this scathed. Some people are going to be left on the wayside, and we will cherish and remember them because they're the ones who made those ultimate sacrifices to get us where we can have a happy ever after. And Tech is kind of this series Iron Man.
Yeah, and then we end up like kind of mourning him finally because it's done and he's not able to see it, but she carries him with her, which is so powerful too.
It's a great choice to make it his glasses too.
Yeah, because of how he saw the world. Yeah, I loved this show. There was a couple episodes in and out, or a couple of things in and out that like I struggled with a little bit. Like, wow, that was a weird choice. But the symbolic storytelling, the psychological journeys that the characters went on, the transformational pieces to it, especially like Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair converting literally into crones, right? Retired people on an island. That's literally their role now. They did that because they were willing to sacrifice everything for the kingdom and to save others. And so they archetypically changed in this episode. And they get to basically just be mentors to other people now.
Yeah. Kind of made me wonder, like, what career do they have? Does Wrecker, is he like an airplane loader of luggage because he's so strong? Is Crosshair doing some sort of tech job?
And Hunter may be fishing or something.
Probably tour guide.
A tour guide with that sweater. But Pabu's paradise, and I'm so happy that it was always presented as this paradise for them, and that the end happily ever after. They end happily ever after, and they actually got to go and live there. That made me, because we knew it, we had it in our minds this whole time. This is how they could live, and we got to see them there.
And so now I just want fan fiction. I want that fan fiction. I want fan art of Wrecker and Hunter and Crosshair fishing off the pier in Fisher Cap's Old Men. I want to see Crosshair and Hunter playing chess, sitting there while Wrecker is drinking a big margarita in a glass. I kind of get, I would like to see
more of the happily ever after
of joy from characters that we've grown to come to love.
And this is where, like, Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Jedi, honestly, Tales from Pabu, of like just little mini, like how the Cars cartoons.
Yeah. Or like the I Am Groot little vignettes.
Cars tunes, like literally just the batch, like doing wacky things on Pabu. Yeah. I would watch the hell out of that. Like little mini, like, what were they, like less than 5-minute cartoons for Cars tunes, and like the other little mini vignettes that they've done like through Pixar and stuff like that, like where it was like just Mater and Lightning McQueen getting into shenanigans. Can you imagine the shenanigans on that island?
I would love it a great deal. AZ chasing Crosshair around saying it's time for a checkup. I need to look at that stump of yours would be hilarious. But it leads me to wonder, though, Marie Claire, this is the team that, was put together for Clone Wars by George Lucas because he had a vision, he had a dream, and he built a team that then went on to do so many episodes of Clone Wars that then, with Dave Filoni at the helm, began Rebels,
and then Resistance,
turned into something gorgeous and brilliant, and Resistance, which was building into something really, really special. And then that team got broken up largely, and the creative components of it were ended when Disney made the acquisition of Lucasfilm. It didn't get the full run that it was supposed to have gotten.
Clone Wars?
Resistance. Right?
No, Resistance was canceled because of the deal with Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. That's right. It all fades away in my head.
Yeah, but then they were able to go and bring many of those people back for Clone Wars Season 7, which flowed into Bad Batch. I think we're getting the path.
Is that what you're getting? I think what we've gotten, though, is a team that could bring us any new story.
Any new story. I would actually like them to go away from the Skywalker saga and go. Animation has proven to me to be the best launching point of any point in the Star Wars land. I know that the books are really good to building out Star Wars, but I would like them to do the Jedi Mandalorian Wars.
Whatever they do, I want them to recognize that animation, first and foremost, is a way to bring the next generation into an appreciation and love for all things Star Wars. And if they approach it from the same perspective that George did with the prequels, you can go anywhere, you can show us anything. And even if it's somewhat remotely tied to previous stories, you can build a new story and with a new perspective and give us something entirely new. I don't think it has to be something that has been touched upon before. And I think this is the team to do it.
Way out of any of the time frame that we're currently in. That's what I would like. I think it'll probably be the path next, though. Like the finding Force sensitives and shuttling them away to safety kind of thing. Because I feel like that's the most robust story that they have to tell right now. With the pieces that they have to tell it.
Who knows?
They laid the groundwork with Kenobi. They've laid some more groundwork with this show. Andor probably has groundwork in there that I haven't, spotted directly, but Andor is really low on the Force scale. Which is not a bad thing, right? But I think it would be an interesting, exploration.
Whatever it is, I just hope that they have it from the perspective of kids in mind. That those 8 to 12-year-olds, especially the 12-year-olds that are out there, that whatever this coming show is made with them first. Because I just never felt like our two kids, and our son's in the perfect age range for Bad Batch. He's 12 and he was never interested in tuning into this show.
And he was between 9 and 12 the whole time. He was in the range and it wasn't for him.
No.
And I mean, I have hopes for Skeleton Crew because it's live action and it's kids. And it's the creator of the Spider-Man Homecoming trilogy. So that will vibe with Will, I think, more like that. I think so. Feel like I'm a school age kid in the Star Wars universe might, hit him better. Whereas Omega always felt like more baby to me until the last season and too young for him. And
I don't know.
The Batch felt too old, and a lot of dads, like I talk about the Dadalorian phenomenon in Star Wars, like
I almost forgot, this episode is full of similar motifs from the Mandalorian. So many Mandalorian-esque runs and instrumentation in this.
And like the sort of the idea of men becoming nurturers as well as protectors, and sort of like these whole people who can both care and also protect.
They change a diaper while shooting a gun.
Exactly. Like that's the Dadalorian effect, right? Like, you can be a single dad. Come on. I just wish that
You
there was
can
also
be
like
attentive and caring
yeah.
while still being manly.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the message of Star Wars, and it's also kind of like in the Zeitgeist, right? Like that we want
Right?
men to take on parental ownership,
Mhm.
right? And so but it's interesting to see where the story will go from there. Up next from a Star Wars release perspective is The Acolyte, which I'm very, very much looking forward to. It has a lot of it'll be more adult.
Oh, yes.
Maybe our kids might like it more.
Maybe. I will say, though, when Resistance came out, our kids loved watching Resistance with us.
Yes.
And I'm sad that that style of show and that lighthearted quality that had stakes isn't there.
I think it had feet to go on if the
Mhm.
Disney Plus deal hadn't happened the way it happened.
Kaz and Tam needed a resolution that wasn't so tied in so tightly. I don't need to talk about Resistance so much, but I wanted to talk about how something in that show made both of our kids, even as young as they were, excited and interested in Star Wars in a way that nothing else has.
And the joy and a few of the other like silly bits. Like they still love the Gorg stuffy that I brought home from Celebration that year. Like they love it.
They rooted for Kaz to win a race. They rooted for the rest of that team to build a racer that could do something. And they cheered for the goofy, bumbly guy who, let's be honest,
Nico?
Kids like, right?
Nico, yeah.
And Kaz too. Kaz always fallen into stuff. You know?
Yeah. No, and like all of the characters were lovable in different ways, and we got like a good mix of like older characters who were mentors or bad people or whatever, and we had an entire universe with the Colossus, and I miss it. I hope I don't know what I hope for, but I think it was a mix of like how the Skywalker trilogy ended, or sorry, the third trilogy ended.
The sequel trilogy,
the sequel. I also think like the Disney Plus deal, like because they couldn't have things on Family or in the Disney Channel anymore when they did that. So,
and it was set in a period of time where they didn't know what was going to be happening in the next TV show, and they couldn't advance too much further than where they were.
Movies
they
don't
have
exist
to know
until I see them.
Exactly. But this production's been done for well over a year now. It's all finished up. They have to have been spending this last year writing whatever the next big thing is. And I hope that they've walked into the next show with just as much hope as they've left me with at the end of this one.
Oh, I hope so too. That was a really nice way to end this. And I'm going to miss recording with you, Kyle, because it's been a joy. And we'll find another thing to do.
Really been great to connect with you on this production.
On the Zoom call. And also to connect with our audience. We actually had a person in real life, shout out to Kaylee, tell me that she was upset that we didn't record for the episode
Flash
14,
Strike, whatever that means.
But I have loved doing this with you, Kyle. So thank you again for showing up every week in the basement, and
it's
bringing a lot to say.
A tough thing to do, to get to go with my favorite person in the world and talk about something that she loves more than anything else, and I greatly enjoy.
Oh, well, thank you everyone for your support and listening to these episodes for Bad Batch Report. I guess that is Marie Claire and Kyle signing up for the last time for Bad Batch Report.
This has been the Bad Batch Report.
You used to do recaps in that voice.
I know.
All right. Well, take care, everyone. And I will be back very soon with some upcoming episodes. So take care in the meantime, and cheers. Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Crew for What the Force. You can support the show directly on Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We'd like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force: Sarah Joy, John, In Wild Space, How Rude, Anna Perez, Neil, Christian Luca, Carly Ann, Scottsy, and Susan. You can support the show by wearing the Force at our merch store, or like and subscribe on YouTube, or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or any other pod apps. It helps people find the show. You can connect to us on Twitter, on Facebook, or at whattheforce.ca, or our Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.